What's good? What's good? The power of forgiving yourself, the power of forgiveness, and how it releases you from the from that cycle of hate, resentment, anger, lack of compassion, lack of empathy, lack of self-worth. Which means if you have lack of self-worth, you can't really have any worth for anything else out there. You can't really value anything out there if you don't value yourself. And this all starts with forgiveness. Because when you learn to forgive yourself, what it is, you start seeing the part of yourself that you hated. You see the reasons why you was doing them things. Because you delve into yourself, you know thyself, you've studied and assessed why and where you picked up your behaviors and what happened to you along the journey, which made you reject parts of yourself because of the messages you was picking up from society, picking up from the people that you was around, picking up from maybe your parents. They might have been doing it unconsciously because they don't know they're vibrating certain things, maybe telling you don't do this, putting you down, little things here and there, all these little things. Then you go out into the real world, you go to school, you know what I'm saying, and then there's that pressure because you got, you know what I mean, you got all different types of characters. So then you got to fit in with that. Where do you fit in there? Do you become that? Are you you know what I'm saying? Are you like an alpha? Are you loud? Are you more of a submissive? There's all these different things, and this is how we all form these characters and start rejecting parts of ourselves and start recreating ourselves and thinking this is how we should be. This is how, you know what I'm saying, this is how we think people should expect us to be. And we start becoming different characters. Some people become reclusive, quiet. Some people become loud. Um, the joker, you know what I'm saying? They always like attention. Some people are, and we all find these different ways that mold us into who we are because of the experiences, how we was treated, how we was spoken to, how we was brought up. And when you start going through this process, you realize that the things that you have, these negative, these things that when we start thinking we're a bad person, really and truly, it's just bad habits that we've picked up along the way. And you see where you picked up these bad habits and why you picked them up. And you was really and truly just trying to survive. You was this little kid because most of our traits that we vibrate in, we learned them within the first 5 years of our life, 5 to 7 years, and we stay stuck in certain survival methods that we found in them early stages in our life. We're still some of us are still vibrating in them survival methods, but we just don't realize that we do. And the reason why we find it hard to come out of it is because we have these labels that society's giving us with this, with that. I'm a bad person. I'm this. I'm an addict. I'm a gangman. I'm whatever. And then you kind of just hold on to it. This is who I am. You don't realize that you've become this over the years because of the treatment, because of the society we live in, the world we live in. It's good to be bad. It's bad to be good. All these is so much different reasons why we become these things. This is why you got to decipher this stuff. That's why you got to forgive yourself, because when you realize that, then you realize that you was just an innocent child that was in a world that was full of all this corruption, and you just found your way through, and you just learned your survival methods, and you built up this character, and you become attached to the character because it at one time it kept you, it gave you a sense of security, a sense of safety. So of course you're going to feel attached to it and find it hard to detach from that because it's like it's safety, it's your blanket. You see what I'm saying? So this is what I'm saying, where we have to really learn to forgive ourselves for these things, because when you look into it in that aspect, you realize, bro, I was just this kid that was just trying to survive. And then when you start to decipher these things within yourself and you start to unravel and take off all the layers, and you start to discover what you really are, you don't really have that much hate for that side anymore. You don't really have that much rejection. You see that side you needed to be there for one part, for that part of your life, and for a certain duration of your life. That part of you needed to be there. It had to hold your hand to get you through. It had to keep you safe. The soul, you know what I'm saying? It kind of had to step in. It's just that we got lost in it and we're too attached to it, and then that's when it turns into suffering because we're not vibrating in our true self. We've done this for survival, and it's like we don't really need to be doing it right now anymore. Really and truly, we don't need to be. We feel like we do because we've vibrated in that way of thinking and the way of moving for how long, but we don't need to be. We just need to take that leap of faith and make the transition. That's all. And that's why we get miserable, because we know deep down we want to make these changes and this and that, but we're not doing it. And that just makes us miserable. Simple as that. You're never going to be happy until you accept who you really are. Doesn't matter how much money you have, where you live, how much friends you have, what material, doesn't matter. You're still gonna have that void inside. It's not about the outside, it's the inside. So this is why we gotta learn to forgive ourselves, because when we forgive ourselves, after you do this process, it becomes easier to forgive others. Because you realize that when you go through this process within yourself and you start to discover what you are and who you are, this is why they told us to know thyself. In Egypt, they said, know thyself, and you will know every other reflection. Because then you understand why other people are doing things and why they're vibrating in them type of ways, and you start seeing it for what it really is. You're not in the illusion, in a little matrix. You're stepping outside the box. You're seeing it from a bigger perspective now, and you're not as judgmental. I'm not saying it goes straight away, you know what I mean? You got to work at these things, and of course there's always a process no matter what we do, but you start to see things for what it is. You realize that's what I used to do, that's how I used to be, that's how I was just hurting. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you become a doormat either. But the thing is that when you're vibrating your true self, you're not going to have people around you that's going to be trying to take advantage of you anyway, because you know you got your gauge. You keep it real. You don't keep things around you that doesn't serve you. So you don't got to worry about that, because you ain't going to have that around you, because you got the strength to decipher that and remove that with love. You know what I'm saying? None of the way I say it can be very direct, but it is with love. You have to do it with love, but you have to be firm and know what you are and what you need around you and what you don't need around you. You have to be real with that. Stand guard at the doorway of your mind. You gotta know what you're letting into your space, what conversations you're letting into your mind, what people you're letting around you. You gotta become aware of that. We was living a life where we weren't aware of that. We was just running around, just bringing any energy into our life, doing whatever, saying whatever, beat. You know what I'm saying? And that's that yellow shit that they try to teach us. So it has to start with forgiving yourself. That's where this whole process starts with. The reason why some of us are so angry and so hurt and so upset and so this and so that is because we haven't forgiven ourselves. And then we don't really see it as that. We start projecting it and thinking it's the world that's making it's this person making me feel like this, that person, he's annoying me, she's annoying me, the way she acts, the way he acts. When really and truly they are just all reflections of what you need to work in within yourself. And that's why it's bothering you so much. Why would what people are doing, other people do, bother you so much unless it's showing you what you need to work in within yourself? It's a reflection, it's like a mirror, and that's why you can't take it when you see this person doing something that's similar to you. It might not be exactly the same, like it might be like arrogance or ignorance or selfishness. Yeah, we might display it in different ways, but it's the same root feeling, it's the same expression, you see what I'm saying? It's the same, it's coming from the same place. That's what we identify with. And that's why when we see people doing things that we have within ourselves that we don't like within ourselves, but we haven't had that understanding, that level of consciousness to see, identify within ourselves and try and work on it, we just start not liking it in the world. So you're just going around hating all these things and getting angry with all these things that basically you have within yourself. And until you alleviate and go within and start forgiving, then you realize, wow, that these things, you're not taking it personal. Not everything's personal. I'm not saying there ain't personal things that still is going to happen to you through your life, of course, but I'm saying you're not taking every little thing personal anymore. And then and you grow. And it starts with forgiving thyself, forgiving oneself, forgiving yourself. That's where it starts. It's going to be very hard to go out there and start forgiving people when you haven't forgiven yourself. You ain't going to be able to do it. You won't be able to do it. So that's where I started. hmm And it's been a process, but it's working. That's one thing for sure. How I see it is I've lived that life. I've tried that life. Why not try another? You see what I'm saying? Why be just because it started out like that doesn't mean it has to end like that. You know what I'm saying? There were certain situations that led me and whatever, and certain things that led me down a path of being lost. And even though I had that awareness inside, I still became lost in the matrix. Aware of it, very aware of it, but still participating. Had the awareness, but still participating in the bullshit. You see what I'm saying? So I see that as still being lost, even though I was aware. I still see that as being lost because I didn't have the courage to stand apart. But now I do because I've forgiven myself. I've forgiven myself for them things, and I've seen why I was acting like that and why I was doing that. And I understand. I get it. I have compassion. I have empathy. I have an understanding. And that's where it just starts. I'm grateful. Grateful to be here, to have come through that experience and be able to get to the other side. And now, with my experience, hopefully share it and be able to help others out there with their experience. Anyway, people, I'm going to leave it at that. Peace and blessings, and we'll catch up soon.